Good evening and welcome to NoorNews. Tonight, we lead with the escalating tensions between the United States and Iran as Donald Trump threatens severe economic consequences for any nation offering support. We will also examine the growing international outcry following Israel's decision regarding a Gaza aid worker. Let's begin. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a formal warning, threatening what he described as tremendous economic consequences for any nation that provides assistance to Iran. This declaration follows the expiration of a 60-day ceasefire on Monday, a deadline that passed without any clear indication of a diplomatic or military off-ramp to the ongoing regional conflict. According to reports from the BBC and Al Jazeera, the rhetoric marks a significant escalation in the discourse surrounding international sanctions and foreign policy alignment regarding Tehran. The ceasefire, which had been intended to provide a window for de-escalation, concluded with no formal agreement in place to extend the pause in hostilities or address the underlying tensions between the involved parties. Analysts note that the threat of economic repercussions is aimed at isolating Iran further by pressuring global partners to reconsider their trade and diplomatic ties. As the situation remains fluid, international observers are closely monitoring whether this warning will influence the strategic calculations of regional actors or if it will lead to a further hardening of positions on both sides. With no immediate path toward a new settlement, the expiration of the ceasefire has left the diplomatic landscape increasingly uncertain. Turning to our historical review, today marks several significant milestones in Kuwait's development across the cultural, economic, and social sectors, according to CUNA archives. On this day in 1974, the Kuwait theater troupe debuted the nation's first puppet show at the Shamaya Theater, marking a notable expansion in local performing arts. Moving to the economic sphere, the year 2000 saw the government approve regulations allowing foreign acquisition of Kuwaiti company shares, a move that helped modernize the nation's investment landscape. In 2016, Kuwait achieved a regional milestone by becoming the first Arab nation to join the OECD's Multilateral Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters. Other notable anniversaries include the 2007 establishment of a charitable fund for individuals with special needs under the Ministry of Social Affairs and Labor, and the 2009 formation of the Kuwait Contractors Union to advocate for industry professionals. Finally, August 20, 2018, saw the official opening of the Berea Salem project in Salmiya, a development initiative designed to revitalize public spaces and boost local tourism. These events collectively reflect the diverse trajectory of Kuwait's institutional and social growth over the past several decades, highlighting the country's ongoing commitment to both cultural preservation and international economic integration. Tensions between Washington and Tehran remain a focal point of international diplomacy, as former U.S. President Donald Trump recently described the current situation with Iran as "so good," despite ongoing geopolitical friction. The remarks come amidst a backdrop of heightened regional scrutiny regarding diplomatic and humanitarian relations in the Gulf. Simultaneously, authorities in the United Arab Emirates have moved to address circulating reports regarding the status of visa processing and humanitarian aid distribution. According to reports from the BBC and Al Jazeera, officials in Abu Dhabi have formally rejected claims that the UAE is imposing new restrictions on visa issuance or altering its established aid protocols. These rumors had gained traction on social media platforms, prompting a swift clarification from Emirati authorities to maintain stability in regional travel and logistics. While the U.S.-Iran dynamic continues to be characterized by fluctuating rhetoric, the UAE's intervention serves to decouple regional administrative policies from the broader narrative of U.S.-Iran conflict. Analysts suggest that the clarification is intended to reassure international partners and residents that the UAE's domestic policies remain independent of external diplomatic pressures. As the situation evolves, international observers continue to monitor both the high-level political discourse from Washington and the practical policy updates emerging from Gulf capitals. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a policy of what he termed economic warfare against nations that continue to support Iran, warning of severe financial consequences for those who maintain trade ties with Tehran. According to reports from the BBC and Al Jazeera, the statement marks a significant escalation in rhetoric regarding U.S. foreign policy toward the Islamic Republic. Trump indicated that any country facilitating economic cooperation with Iran would face substantial punitive measures, including the potential loss of access to American markets. This declaration comes as international observers monitor shifting geopolitical alliances and the potential for renewed volatility in global trade relations. Analysts cited by Al Jazeera suggest that such a policy, if implemented, would represent a departure from current diplomatic frameworks, placing significant pressure on international partners who have sought to maintain economic engagement with Iran despite existing sanctions. The BBC notes that the announcement has prompted immediate concern among regional stakeholders, who are now assessing the potential impact on their own domestic economies and long-term strategic interests. As of now, there has been no official response from the current U.S. administration regarding the feasibility or legal framework of these proposed measures, leaving the international community to weigh the implications of this stated economic strategy. The Australian government has expressed formal outrage following the Israeli military's decision not to pursue criminal charges against those responsible for the killing of aid worker Zomi Francom in Gaza. Foreign Minister Penny Wong has summoned the Israeli ambassador to Canberra, describing the outcome of the internal investigation as deeply insulting to the victim's family and the Australian public. According to the BBC, the incident occurred in April when an Israeli drone strike targeted a convoy operated by World Central Kitchen, resulting in the deaths of 7 aid workers, including Ms. Francom. While the Israel Defense Forces acknowledged the strike was a grave mistake caused by misidentification, they have opted for disciplinary measures against senior officers rather than criminal prosecution. The Australian government maintains that the response is insufficient and has demanded full accountability for the breach of international humanitarian law. The decision has drawn sharp criticism from international aid organizations, who argue that the lack of criminal proceedings undermines the safety of humanitarian personnel operating in conflict zones. Canberra has indicated it will continue to press for a transparent and independent inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the strike to ensure that such a failure of protocol is not repeated. Israel has officially opened the bidding process for a new construction project within the occupied West Bank, a move that has drawn immediate international criticism. The tender concerns a highly sensitive area, sparking concerns over the long-term viability of a two-state solution. According to the BBC, the United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary has formally condemned the decision, describing the advancement of these settlement plans as an unacceptable and destructive act that undermines regional stability. The project involves the development of infrastructure in a territory that remains at the center of ongoing diplomatic disputes. While Israeli authorities maintain that such developments are necessary to accommodate existing population growth, the international community largely views the expansion of settlements as a violation of international law. This latest development follows a series of similar announcements over the past year, further complicating efforts to resume peace negotiations. Analysts suggest that the timing of these bids could place additional strain on Israel's diplomatic relations with key Western allies who have repeatedly called for a freeze on settlement activity. As the bidding process moves forward, observers are closely monitoring whether this will trigger further formal diplomatic protests from other global powers concerned about the potential for increased friction in the region. The Supreme Judiciary Council has officially approved a new set of regulatory rules designed to enhance governance and institutional maturity within Saudi Arabia's judicial administration. According to the Saudi Gazette, the decision was finalized during a meeting held at the Council's headquarters in Riyadh on Wednesday, chaired by the Minister of Justice and the Council's acting president, Sheikh Walid Al-Samani. The newly adopted framework establishes clear procedures for the formation of courts and their respective circuits, while also standardizing the protocols for the referral and distribution of legal cases. Officials state that these measures are intended to ensure procedural stability and improve the overall efficiency of case adjudication across the kingdom. Beyond administrative restructuring, the Council also reviewed several proposals focused on the judicial workforce. These discussions centered on refining the criteria for appointing judges, with a specific emphasis on elevating the quality of recruitment, professional training, and the development of technical offices. By strengthening these internal governance mechanisms, the Council aims to bolster the consistency of judicial outcomes and streamline the delivery of legal services. These updates represent a broader ongoing effort to modernize the judicial process and align administrative practices with the Kingdom's long-term institutional development goals. Thank you for joining us for this verified update on today's most pressing global developments. We look forward to bringing you more news tomorrow. NoorNews, verified before published.